Dear devotees, dear spiritual seekers, dear friends, welcome. Today we are starting a new series of classes on Srimad Bhagavatam, and today we will start with the first very important verse, and this is Srimad Bhagavatam 113. And this verse is explaining how Srimad Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit of all the Vedic literature. So I will start immediately, and you're welcome to also write some comments and also questions, because towards the end we can have a discussion. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 1, Text number 3. Nigamakatpatarurgalitam palam shuka mukat amritadrava samyutam pibata bhagavatam rasam alayam muhur ahora sikabhuvi bhavuka. And translation: O expert and thoughtful man, relish Srimad Bhagavatam, the mature fruit of the desired tree of Vedic literatures. It emanated from the lips of Sri Shukadeva Goswami. Therefore, this fruit has become even more tasteful, although its nectarian juice was already relishable for all, including liberated souls. So the purport to this verse is very long, and I will read only some portions of it, otherwise it would take very long time. So I will now first read the beginning of this purport, because it is essential for our understanding. And so this is the purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In the two previous shlokas, it has been definitely proved that the Srimad Bhagavatam is the sublime literature which surpasses all other Vedic scriptures due to its transcendental qualities. It is transcendental to all mundane activities and mundane knowledge. In this shloka, it is stated that Srimad Bhagavatam is not only a superior literature, but is the ripened fruit of all Vedic literatures. In other words, it is the cream of all Vedic knowledge. But what does this mean? So let's read further. Considering all this, patient and submissive hearing is definitely essential. With great respect and attention, one should receive the message and lessons imparted by the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Vedas are compared to the desire tree because they contain all things knowable by man. They deal with mundane necessities as well as spiritual realization. The Vedas contain regulated principles of knowledge over covering social, political, religious, economic, military, medicinal, chemical, physical, and metaphysical subject matter, and all that may be necessary to keep the body and soul together. Above and beyond, all these are specific directions for spiritual realization. Regulated knowledge involves a gradual rising of the living entity to the spiritual platform. And the highest spiritual realization is knowledge that the personality of Godhead is the reservoir of all spiritual tastes or rasas. Every living entity, beginning from Brahma, the firstborn living being, within the material world, down to the insignificant ant, desires to relish some sort of taste derived from sense perceptions. These sensual pleasures are technically called rasas. Such rasas are of different varieties. In the revealed scriptures, the following 12 varieties of rasas are enumerated. First, Raudra or anger. Second, Adbhuta or wonder. Third, Shringara or conjugal love. Fourth, Hasya or comedy. Five, Vira or chivalry. Six, Daya or mercy. Seven, Dasya or servitorship. Eight, Sakya or fraternity. Nine, Bhayanaka, horror. 10, Bibhatsa, shock. 11 Shanta, neutrality, and 12 Vatsalya, or parenthood. The sum total of all these rasas is called affection or love. Primarily, such signs of love are manifested in adoration, service, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal love. And when these five are absent, love is present indirectly in anger, wonder, comedy, chivalry, fear, shock, and so on. For example, when a man is in love with a woman, the rasa is called conjugal love. But when such love affairs are disturbed, there may be wonder, anger, shock, or even horror. Sometimes love affairs between two persons culminate in ghastly murder scenes. Such rasas are displayed between man and between animal and animal. There is no possibility of an exchange of rasa between a man and an animal or between a man and any other species of living beings within the material world. The rasas are exchanged between members of the same species, but as far as the spirit souls are concerned, they are one qualitatively with the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the rasas were originally exchanged between the spiritual living being and the spiritual whole, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The spiritual exchange or rasa is fully exhibited in spiritual existence between living beings and the Supreme Lord. So I will stop here and just give some brief comments on this purport so far, and then I will also read further and give further comments. So, Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Swadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Pada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchanga Gorange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this verse is the third verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, and it is actually a part of the prelude to Srimad Bhagavatam. And what is prelude? It is the first three verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. They actually form this prelude because it is like the introduction into the entire Srimad Bhagavatam through these three very essential verses. So let me just explain this very briefly. So the very first verse is Janmadyasya yatonmayati taratashtesha bhikyak swarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye Muyanti Yatsuraya Tejo Varimridam Yata Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Mrisha Damna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dimahi. So this very first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam is also, we could say, the seed verse. And the seed verse means that the entire Srimad Bhagavatam comes out from this seed verse. And what does this seed verse represent? This seed verse represents the definition of the absolute truth, the supreme absolute truth. And who or what is the supreme absolute truth? This is Shri Krishna, Lord Shri Krishna. He is the supreme absolute truth. And it is explained. So in this verse explains that he, Shri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, he is the all-pervading personality of Godhead, and he is the primeval cause of all causes, of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of all the manifested universes. And he is the one who is directly and indirectly conscious of everything that is happening inside entire universe. And he is who is the only independent personality, and there is no other cause beyond him. He is the cause of all causes. And it is he who first imparted the Vedic knowledge. And he imparted it into the heart of Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma is the very first living being in the entire universe. And then further, this is so mystical. So it is by him that even great sages and great demigods are illusioned, are bewildered, are confused. And only because of him do these material universes, which are only temporary, appear as real and as enduring, although they are not. They are just temporary, but they appear as the reality which is lasting because of his mystical potency. And therefore, because he is the supreme absolute truth, I meditate upon him. Dimahi means meditate. Satyam Param Dimahi. Satyam Param means the absolute truth. So I meditate on the absolute truth. I meditate on Shri Krishna. And he himself lives far away in his own spiritual transcendental abode, which is always existing, which is not temporary, which is not illusory, and it is free from all illusion. And therefore, I meditate upon Him. So this is a very, very important verse, very powerful verse, which is giving us the definition of the supreme absolute truth. So the next verse is also extremely important. This is the verse 2. Dharma projita kaita votra paramo nirmatsaranam satam vidyam vastavam atra vastu shivadam tapotrayonmulanam Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim va pararishvarai Sadyo Hridavarudrya Tetra Kritibi Shru Shru Shubhistat Kshanai. And this second verse is actually giving us the glories of this book, of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The glories of this book, which are amazing. So, which are the glories of this book? This book is completely rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated and is propounding the highest truth, which is understandable only by those who are free from envy, or with other words, who are pure in heart. And what is actually what does this actually mean, that Srimad Bhagavatam is rejecting all religious activities which are materially motivated? It means that Srimad Bhagavatam is completely focused only on pure devotional service and is rejecting even mixed devotional service as impure, as materially motivated. So Srimad Bhagavatam is all about pure devotional service, which can bring the soul to the highest achievement, the goal of human existence, which is prema, pure love of God. And here, further is explained. It's just so wonderful. The highest truth is reality distinguished from illusion for the welfare of all. So the highest truth is the real reality. And such truth uproots the threefold miseries. What does this mean? This means that once we really understand and realize this truth, the truth about pure devotional service and everything connected with pure devotional service, then we can extinguish all our suffering. All our suffering will be gone. And practically, in the ultimate sense, this means when the soul comes to the realization of his or her eternal identity, in connection with the Supreme Absolute Truth, with Sri Krishna. When you realize what is your eternal relationship with the Supreme Lord, what is your rasa? We'll speak about that. And you act upon this, then all the miseries of this material existence start dissipating until they are completely gone. And this also means complete liberation for the soul, who actually becomes liberated from the engagement of material bodies and from the entanglement into the repetition of birth and death, or samsara. So this is what the truth does. This is the power of the truth. And this truth is contained within Srimad Bhagavatam. And then, so this beautiful Bhagavatam is compiled by the great sage Srila Vyasadeva in his maturity. And this is really the scripture. As soon as one attentively and submissively hears this scripture, then by the culture of this knowledge, the Supreme Lord is established within his heart. So it is very basically, it means that when one sincerely hears Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme Lord as the super soul within the heart immediately responds and starts giving the inspiration and realization from within the heart. So it is very, very amazing how this spiritual realization then takes place. So I had to explain just shortly these two previous verses. And this third verse now, that is the topic of today's class, is the invitation. Is the invitation to one and all to relish Srimad Bhagavatam. Why? Because Srimad Bhagavatam is this ripened fruit which is so tasty and so juicy and so full of rasa. And rasa is really the pleasure that every soul is hankering after. We as a spirit soul, we are after pleasure. We want pleasure. And the pleasure that we are looking for is rasa. And I will come to this in just a little bit, but first I have to explain a little more about how Srimad Bhagavatam is this ripened fruit of the Vedic literature. So as I was reading before in the purport, in the commentary, it was explained that the entire Vedic literatures is compared to a tree, to a desired tree. And why a desired tree? Because as a desired tree can fulfill different desires that people have, in a similar way, Vedic desired tree can fulfill different desires that people have by giving them the necessary knowledge through which they can fulfill their desires. And it is mentioned in this purport that Vedic literature contains not only spiritual knowledge, but also all material knowledge. It's all within the Vedic literature. However, Srimad Bhagavatam is concerned only with the spiritual knowledge. And if we actually look back into the history, what is the origin of Srimad Bhagavatam, how Srimad Bhagavatam was compiled, then we have to go back. We have to go far back. And we first have to understand what are the Vedas. The Vedas actually are the knowledge which emanate directly from the Supreme Lord. And as I explained in that very first verse, Janmadyasya Yatonvayat, that it is He, the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Absolute Truth, who first imparted the Vedic knowledge into the heart of Lord Brahma. So this is the real source of the Vedic knowledge, is He, the Supreme Absolute Truth, Sri Krishna. And He first imparted this knowledge to Lord Brahma, and then from Lord Brahma it went down the disciplic succession of the spiritual teachers, because the knowledge is handed down like a ripened fruit. If we have like a beautiful mango tree, and there are many ripe mangoes on this tree, in order to get this soft, juicy, tasty fruit, usually what they do, like somebody climbs on the ladder, and then another person is just a little behind him, and then another person just a little behind him, and in this way this fruit is handed down from one person to another person very carefully, so that it does not fall down and it doesn't, doesn't like burst, so that it is protected, the juice is protected. So in similar way, this original spiritual knowledge of the Vedas is handed down very carefully through the disciplic succession of the spiritual teachers. So in the beginning, there was only one Veda, but later on, as we could say, the Kali Yuga was approaching, the age of degradation, Srila Vyasadeva, who is no one else but the incarnation of the Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna. Srila Vyasadeva is the incarnation. So he compiled, he actually divided the original one Veda into 4 Vedas, the Rig Veda, Atharva Veda, Yajur Veda, and the Samaveda. So these are the 4 Vedas. He divided this one Veda into these 4 Vedas, and then he also added the Puranas and Mahabharatas. And he also wrote Vedanta Sutra. And what is Vedanta Sutra? Vedanta Sutra is the essence of the all the spiritual knowledge from all 4 Vedas, and also from the Upanishads. So the essence of the all spiritual knowledge from the Vedas is contained in Vedanta Sutra. But Vedanta Sutra is extremely concise, and it is written in sutras. And sutras are not ordinary words. These are symbols that are very difficult to understand. Only great sages can understand these sutras. Like normal people, regular people cannot understand them. And Srila Vyasadeva was actually confronted with his guru, Srila Narada Muni. And at that time, he decided that he will write a commentary on Vedanta Sutra, which will be available and easily understandable even by common men like us. And this commentary is Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the commentary, original commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, which actually gives the ultimate essence of the entire Vedic knowledge, which is the spiritual knowledge. So this much about why Srimad Bhagavatam considered the ripened fruit from one point of view, but now from the other point of view. And this is even more wonderful. So here we could read in this purport that the highest spiritual realization is knowledge that the personality of Godhead is the reservoir of all spiritual tastes or rasas. So what does this mean? First of all, this means that the Supreme Absolute Truth is a person. And as a second, it means it is a very loving person. It is a person with whom other living beings, other souls can exchange love through a rasa. And a rasa it's actually a little difficult to explain in the English language, but we could hear previously when I was reading how Srila Prabhupada was explaining that these rasas are actually different mellows or different kinds of spiritual emotions that pure soul is experiencing and exchanging with the Supreme Absolute Truth, with Sri Krishna um, or Lord Narayan. So there are 12 of these main rasas, and even we have, they are even, if we go even more concise, there are rasas, and they actually indicate these 5 primary relationships that a soul can have with the Supreme Absolute Truth. And these are the neutral relationship or Shanta, then it's the service relationship or Dasya, then one can have a friendly relationship or Sakya, then one can have parental relationship, Vatsalya, and one can have conjugal relationship or Shringara rasa or Madhurya, it's also called. So these are these 5 primary relationships that the soul can have with the Supreme Lord. And through these relationships, the soul is exchanging the rasas, these spiritual emotions, which are very dynamic, and they are changing. There are varieties of these emotions, and we can see there are even some emotions which seem apparently to be negative. However, they are not really negative. They are all positive because they even more they cause even greater love or prema. Prema becomes even stronger with the apparently negative emotions. So, and then comparison is given. Here in the material world, we are also driven by the rasa. Because everybody here in this material world is trying to become happy or to enjoy life through certain kind of taste or exchange or emotions, especially within relationships, because this is what gives us the greatest pleasure. However, here in material world, when we exchange these relationships and when we exchange these rasas, is all on the material platform. And these rasas are not spiritual, they are not transcendental, and they are temporary, and they can transform, like a positive rasa or positive emotion can turn into very negative. And usually the mode of passion which is predominating mode of these exchanges, mode of passion and ignorance within in this age, especially, they end up in suffering. There is, in the mode of passion in the beginning, there is some pleasure, there is some taste, then there is some happiness, but then it turns into poison. So that's material rasa. It's not the real thing. But we want the real thing. We really want the real thing. So the real thing is this spiritual taste, spiritual emotions that we as a soul can exchange with the Supreme Lord in our eternal relationship. But now the question comes, well, but what can I do? Because here it is explained that this spiritual exchange of love or rasa is possible for liberated souls. So when the soul is liberated, then he or she can exchange this love with the Supreme Lord. But what about us who who are not liberated? What about us who are maybe even in the beginning stages of our bhakti practice? What can we do? Is there any hope for us? Yes, there is. So I will read just a little more uh, uh, from the commentary, from the purport of Srila Prabhupada. So he says, in this shloka, it is definitely stated that spiritual rasa, which is relished even in the liberated state, can be experienced in the literature of the Srimad Bhagavatam due to its being the ripened fruit of all Vedic knowledge. By submissive hearing this transcendental literature, one can attain the full pleasure of his heart's desire. So this is something really amazing. What does this mean? So I will explain this shortly, and then I will open for questions. I don't want to be too long. So this means that even if I am not very spiritually elevated, even if I'm not very spiritually advanced, what to speak of liberated, even if I'm in the beginning stages on my spiritual path of bhakti, when if I read Srimad Bhagavatam, if I hear attentively Srimad Bhagavatam, I can actually experience and taste this sublime spiritual rasa, because this rasa is contained within the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. And I can confirm this from my personal realization. So my personal realization is that whenever I regularly, every day, read Srimad Bhagavatam for at least half an hour or 1 hour, then it is actually difficult to explain because it is very subtle. It is very subtle. This spiritual happiness, this spiritual pleasure is very subtle, but it's some very deep, subtle satisfaction within the heart, within the mind. It's some kind of fulfillment that comes to the heart when one regularly and attentively reads Srimad Bhagavatam. And the opposite, I know from my personal experience, when sometimes I have a period when I don't read every day, when I skip, and then all of a sudden something is missing. There is some emptiness that I feel in my life, that I feel in my heart. And often, at least in the beginning, I couldn't understand what was that, because I was, I'm always doing my chanting, my spiritual sadhana, my service, but just like sometimes I skip reading Srimad Bhagavatam. So what is it? What is it? I couldn't understand until then. Finally, I understood. It is whenever I don't read Srimad Bhagavatam, I feel so empty and unfulfilled in my heart. And then I started to really, really deeply appreciate the power of Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is confirmed within this purport, that Srimad Bhagavatam gives this spiritual taste, this spiritual rasa that the individual soul is looking for, because every one of us is searching for this spiritual pleasure, for this spiritual satisfaction. We are looking for it everywhere. Mostly we are looking for it in the spiritual pleasure, not spiritual, material pleasure, in material relationships, or in material achievements, or name, fame, positions, material success, because all these give some taste, but that's material taste. So we are trying to squeeze some pleasure from these material things. But the real pleasure is hiding within Srimad Bhagavatam, in the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. And of course, it is also hiding in the holy name, the Hare Krishna mantra. But it goes hand in hand together. If we are regularly reading Srimad Bhagavatam and we start relishing that sweetness of Srimad Bhagavatam, this also enriches our japa, our chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and then also we can start to taste at least a little bit of the spiritual taste of the holy name. So this is the beauty and the great mercy of Srimad Bhagavatam as the ripened fruit of all Vedic literature. And Prabhupada actually ends this purport. So Srila Prabhupada also makes one point, very important point, and this point is that this taste we can actually relish when we receive the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam through the disciplic succession, through the bona fide disciplic succession. When the teachers are all bona fide, then the real taste is preserved, and then we can get the real fruit of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And I'll just read now the end of this purport. Srila Prabhupada says, Srimad Bhagavatam is so carefully presented that a sincere and serious person can at once enjoy the ripened fruit of Vedic knowledge simply by drinking the nectarian juice through the mouth of Shukadeva Goswami or his bona fide representatives. So whenever we receive these from the bona fide representatives, then we can relish the sweetness of Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, so now let's see if I can, if I can see. I would ask for questions. Let me see if I can see I can see your questions. If there is any question. Okay. Okay, nothing yet. So if you can write your this yeah, if okay, I have a question here. Okay, great. Okay, Adelina, I'm so happy. Thank you very much for explaining the context around Srimad Bhagavatam, expanding on why it was written in the first place. This makes me realize how important it is to study this literature. Yes, thank you very much for your comment. Actually, I would like to really stress this. For us, the Vaishnavas, especially Gaudiya Vaishnavas, Srimad Bhagavatam is the most important literature. And we can actually see that Lord Chaitanya, he was the propounder of Srimad Bhagavatam. He relished Srimad Bhagavatam and he was inviting everyone to read Srimad Bhagavatam, especially because of just this topic that we have today. Because Srimad Bhagavatam contains all this rasa, all this taste of exchange of love between the Supreme Lord and the living entity. And Lord Chaitanya, he came. He came to actually give us this the highest prema to everyone, also to those of us who are completely unqualified. Lord Chaitanya came to give us the highest gift, love of God. And love of God means exchange of rasa with the Supreme Absolute Truth. So Srimad Bhagavatam gives actually all the explanation about Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. And these first three verses that I just described in short are in a minute way representing the Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. So the first verse is representing Sambandha. What does it mean, Sambandha? Sambandha means knowledge and understanding who or what is the supreme absolute truth, who am I, and who or what is the nature, the material nature, and what is the relationship between the three of them. This is the Sambandha. So once we understand this, then we can move on to Abhideya. What is Abhideya? Abhideya is represented by the second verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, which explains that Srimad Bhagavatam is giving this pure knowledge, the real knowledge. And Abhideya means the path or the real activity that the soul has to do, our only real duty. And this is pure devotional service, because this is the activity which is in connection with our eternal nature, uh, how we are connected with the Supreme Lord. So once we understand who we are, that we are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and that we are eternally connected with Him and always subordinate to Him, and always in this um, loving bond, and in a service attitude, exchanging love with Him, then the Abhideya, which is the path of coming to be reinstated back in a pure devotional service situation, comes to play. So this is the second verse. It's explaining Abhideya, and this is the path to perfection, or the practice of pure devotional service and attainment of pure devotional service. And the third verse, which is this, that the Srimad Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit, is explaining prayojana. And what is prayojana? Prayojana is goal of life. And the goal of life is to enjoy rasa, to enjoy spiritual pleasure, spiritual exchange of love with the Supreme Lord. Okay, so thank you very much, Adelina, for this comment. If you will have any other questions, we can have further discussions. I also want to thank everyone else who was watching today. I'm very grateful for your support, and we will see each other again next week at on the same day, on Friday, 5 p.m. uh, Central European time. Hare Krishna.